Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. My name is Tim Wieniarz, and for the next hours, I will be your moderator for the day. I'm looking forward to guide you through the day, through some interesting conversations and presentations, and like to welcome you again to the Green Coding Summit here in this French cathedral. As it is stated in the agenda, we will have some very great speakers here today. I'm sorry, it's a little bit loud sometimes and sometimes a little bit silent. But we're going to go with it. First of all, I want to ask you politely again to maybe check your phone again if it is on silent mode or turned off, to not distract the others or the speaker, of course. And also I want to mention that in the coming presentations, you nearly every time will have the possibility, if there's still some time left, you all will have the opportunity to ask some questions to our speakers, and we hope that you will take advantage of this opportunity to find out more and to get a good conference and discussion running. Okay, let's not lose any more time and start with the next act of today. It will be a fierce fireside conversation with three person you already know. My dear friend Anna Zagorski from the German Federal Environmental Agency, Mr. Max Schulze, the person who hired me for the job as a moderator and trusted me with it, and Mr. Jens Gröger from the Öko-Institut, the German Institute for Applied Ecology. I'm sorry. I invite you to join me up on stage, please.
This is so much more fun to not be there.
Okay, let's start with the discussion. First of all, we are a little bit short on the time in this one, so I sadly have to announce we don't have time for questions, but our speakers will gladly talk to you in all the breaks and whatever. I see it in their faces, they really want to do this. Okay, first of all, I want to start with a question to give a little bit of frame to this conversation. Anna, for you. I want to ask you why the Uber is Umweltbundesamt, you can see up there, the German environmental agency. Why is the Uber interested in software in the first place?
I would say German Environment Agency because you should not understand that it's Uber, it's not Uber. The German Environment Agency has long interest in the topics of sustainable software because, as I already mentioned, we see that software is increasingly responsible for hardware becoming obsolete too early. There are several reasons for that. There are data-intensive formats going through the networks, going through the data centers, and we see also that we don't get security updates for software, which leads also to premature obsolescence of hardware, and this is causing a lot of electronic waste, of course. So we need to understand that software and hardware is getting more and more like one unit, and we need to tackle all of these challenges, and that's why we had a long interest in these topics of sustainable software.
Okay, thank you. And I would say we set the frame, and we already remember all of us are remembering you talking about this earlier today. So let's skip to the next part. The topic, as you have read the agenda on the schedule, I guess, the topic of this talk is launching the Green Coding Wiki and the lessons learned from the SoftAWERE project. So I think it was teased before a little bit, of course, but let's start with the second one, SoftAWERE. Max, can you tell us a little bit about the SoftAWERE project?
Yeah, first of all, we Germans love our acronyms, so UBA is our way of saying German Environmental Agency, as Anna pointed out. I always like that, UBA, UBA, UBA. Could be a song. SoftAWERE project, in a nutshell, it's about building tools for software engineers to measure their environmental impact of software. I have a background in software engineering, so when we started the project with the UBA, for us it was important that we can integrate it really into the workflow of software engineering. So it's not just a separate tool that's somehow inconvenient to use. Anita also touched upon it earlier, it has to be easy to use. And we wanted to integrate it into CI/CD workflows, and that's also what we did. If you look at the results now, we basically made it so that every time tests are running or you're running a CI/CD process, that at the end we measure the entire environmental impact of that process. And we hope that with that step, now it's been already taken further by a lot of people in the open source community that are here today, but we hope that making these kind of tools enables people to just measure all the time, essentially, and be really aware during the development process of what the environmental impacts per version, per change are.
Okay, thank you for this, but I have a follow-up question on this, because it came to me that there have been some challenges in the project. Do you want to talk about this? Some challenges and how you solved them?
Yeah, that's why I invited Atanas, no, kidding, because we need better APIs, but it's very difficult. There's many reasons for that. One was mentioned earlier on the panel, layers, too many layers, in order to kind of, let's say, call the root server for the energy consumption, or to figure even out where you are on the server, in which data center you are, if you're in cloud environments. It's so incredibly painful, and I find that that's also why I came to this regulation point. It's like, I find it a lot cheaper and easier to essentially say, let's force people to have a clean API in every server and make sure we can read it from all layers. The other really painful point, and I don't think we think about that a lot, is clearly defined functionality of software. So at the end of the day, what everybody always wants is that you run a measurement and then you can compare the results between different software applications. Now, the problem is no software application is the same. No open source tool is the same. They're functionally never identical, which leads you to the question why, and that's really a problem of software engineering, is that, and really think about it when you leave maybe today, we differentiate software through features. So whenever we build a piece of software, it usually starts with a very specific problem that we're solving with software, and then we slap on more features over time, right? And that makes it almost impossible to compare, for example, a system like Salesforce with HubSpot, or an ERP system from SAP with the one from Oracle, because yes, they serve the same purpose, but they're functionally not identical. And that makes measurement, as Jens will maybe comment on, will make measurement very painful if they're not functionally identical.
Jens, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I actually come from the Öko-Institut, and I participated in this project to bring some methodology or some scientific ideas into that project. I'm myself chemical process engineer, and I mean, if you produce something, you always have problems. I mean, every machine that you're using has some losses and has some emissions into air or whatever, and so you have to know your process very well. And this is why I think software is just the same, or just a part of the whole digital supply chain somehow. It's just a puzzle part of it. And I mean, I could make it complicated for sure. But if you know that every one of us is very well known by big analytics data collectors that know our habits and so on, everything is known about us, but actually about the software there's only very little known. And this is, I don't think it's really complicated to measure software. I mean, in detail, it might be complicated, but the idea is actually to make it very easy, to make it very transparent. Just buy a piece of software, like buy a piece of whatever meat in the butcher, and then I get to know the environmental impact of the software. And so this is what we have to work on, and this is what the green software community has to work on, to make it more transparent and to make it really easy just at each digital service that I purchase to get these information as well.
I think just to add to that real quick, I completely agree with you. I think we're also sometimes a bit obsessed with precision because it's an interesting engineering problem. And in the SoftAWERE project, there was somebody from the community that just tested it out if we can get it to it, for example, just mathematically, that we can get to the energy consumption of a CPU just using pure math, right? And turns out we can. It's not very precise, not very good, but it's good enough. And then Green Coding Berlin built a machine learning model that made it even more precise, this guessing of power consumption. But sometimes that's enough. Right now, if we can get a 60–70% accurate value, that's better than getting no value at all. And so I think this obsession with precision, also I'm a software engineer, so I also like that a lot. We need to be a bit careful right now. Right now we need transparency and data, and then we can optimize, make it more precise over time.
I think we're going very deep into detail right now, and I want to copy you a little bit and do a small poll with the audience. Can anyone raise a hand who is a software developer in the audience? Okay, so you all know what they are talking about. That's great. Okay. Actually, but we went very into detail here, so if you don't mind, I would like to take a step back and include Anna in the discussion too as well again. Because I have another question for Anna, and I'm interested in the government part, or the part the UBA, the German Federal Environmental Agency, I'm sorry, plays. Or what is the vision of your institution for green coding, and where should it go the next years?
Yeah, I think, as we said before in the panel that we need to raise awareness for the topic of sustainable software, and I said...
You need to raise what, sorry?
Awareness.
Awareness.
Yes, sorry. And I said in my keynote that we have to go much more deeper into regulation of software, and I think it's important because we see a variety of problems. I already mentioned some of them. For example, what we want to regulate is that today we have big cloud dependencies of devices. So if there is any connection to the device, then the whole device becomes obsolete and old, and then you have to throw it away. And I think this is a point of regulation. So we have to regulate it into the Eco-Design Directive, for example.
That's one reason.
May I add to that regulation?
Yeah, there is already a regulation.
I mean, there are regulations already existing. For example, a company has to make clear how much carbon emissions they are emitting. Every company, starting from a certain size, have to do their corporate sustainability report somehow, and they have to report how much are they damaging the planet. And what happens right now is that companies put all their calculation and storage and everything, or all the digital power into the cloud, and they get a zero back from the supplier. They have zero emissions. They're great. So there are already regulations to make your environmental impacts visible. But what's actually missing is the transparency that I get back from my cloud provider, what the damage actually was that I have done.
Yeah, and for this we need also, of course, standards in order that everybody is measured on the same level, kind of. And another point is maybe the whole world of academia is not really aware of this problem. So I wanted to set up a new project next year, a green coding curriculum, where we can ask the academia side and also the industry side to develop a green coding curriculum to raise awareness for this topic.
We will have a discussion about this later today. It's the closing event in the ballroom, and I invite all of you to join later to this discussion too, about not the curriculum, but the academic stage in the academic state of green coding in the academic world. Jens, may I ask you, because we talked about labels and so on, that brings to my mind, you told me something about a badge that came up, a badge in the SoftAWERE project. And it is for? Actually,
yeah, we have developed the idea. I mean, it was not spread into the market yet. But we heard the idea in the panel before. Wouldn't it be great if I, for example, buy a refrigerator, I have a label A to G that tells me how efficient that refrigerator is? And the same idea applies also to software libraries, for example. If I go to GitHub and I want to choose a MP3 compiler, I don't know, I have the choice between 20 different versions. And so wouldn't it be great to just see at GitHub or at any repository how efficient the software is performing, how much, I mean, some information I get, how big the software is, for example, and maybe if the code is somehow clean or follows certain rules. But I also could set a batch, and this is what we see, the SoftAWERE label there. The batch has this included, which tells how much energy, how much joule the software is consuming when performing a certain routine, which is the test routine, which is called, help me, please.
Integration test?
Not the integration test, but performing every
single CI/CD workflow.
The single task of the software could be measured. And so I have a certain standard usage scenario, which is actually not the actual using of the software, but a test scenario only that tells me how much joule the software consumes. And this helps me as a developer to reduce this joule footprint. Joule is an energy unit. Helps me to reduce that unit, but it helps me also as a developer to choose the software with the lowest footprint.
Okay, thank you for your answer. Then next, I wanted to know, like maybe I'm not the only one and the audience asks themselves the same question. What's the difference between your batch idea and a label? For example, the German Blue Angel?
Yeah, the German Blue Angel is actually something somehow different. We have an extra track for the Blue Angel, and the Blue Angel is a sign that shows which software is explicitly excellent. So the Blue Angel, the eco-label of the German government, always shows if I get different, let's say, washing machines, which washing machine is the most efficient one. Actually, for washing machine, there doesn't exist any label. But let's say for data centers, for example, this label exists. So I can see which data center is the most efficient on the market. And we get the same for software, and we get different criteria for the software that have to be fulfilled to get this label. And one very important criteria is that you have to measure how much energy the software consumes, how much hardware resources the software consumes, and on what kind of systems this software still runs. So what Anna already mentioned, we want software that also runs on old hardware. So the software that will be awarded with the Blue Angel has to run on a 5 years old hardware platform. And it might be a computer, but it might also be a 5 years old smartphone.
Yeah, and I want to add something to the Blue Angel. And yeah, we see the Blue Angel as a kind of transparency label. So, as Max said, it's really difficult to compare software which is other, because the functionalities are really different. And so we demand from the software developers, from the software itself, that they measure their energy. How much energy the software is consuming, and other hardware resources, and so we can see transparent how many resources and energy it's consuming. So yeah, again, this transparency thing, it's really important.
There's a panel.
I hate to interrupt you, but I think we have to come to an end. I'm sorry for this, but you gave me the job to interrupt you, you know. So I would like you all to ask each one of you, maybe you want one last statement on how do you wish this whole green coding thing in Germany, in Europe, and in the world should be going on? Like, what should come first? You did a poll earlier with awareness. lots of us, many of us think awareness is the first part that is missing. Like, what do you wish how it should be continued? Who wants to be first?
Maybe?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm rather sure that every software developer wants to contribute to a better world. And so we have to give these developers, software programmers, whatever, the possibility to do it and to get an immediate feedback. What they're doing is to save either the planet or at least to use less energy.
Thank you. I think this is the reason all of us are in this room now, because we want to make a change, like Max introduced in the beginning. Max, any last words?
I think my only ask or only wish is that for now, at least, everybody integrates the measurement into their continuous delivery, continuous integration processes into your development process, and just really have it visible all the time as a metric, also to your product owners, to your teammates, not just to other software engineers, but to the whole team, that everybody knows some adding functionality, for example, can improve environmental impact, or sorry, can increase the environmental impact, and that there's a mindset in the organization to change.
Okay, change the mindset of your people. That's Anna?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add, we did a lot of hackathons, not a lot, but I think 2. So I think this was a good idea, and it was appreciated pretty good, and we had a lot of fun at these hackathons, and I think this is a good idea for the future to go with this topic forward.
Okay. I think it will go on with the workshops tomorrow. You will all get to learn like how to do these things and can take this with you, can take this home and make the change right now, as mentioned before. And I want to thank for the speakers. Thank you for the talk. We're going to move on now.